Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Stock Talk, series I make whenever I feel it's necessary, where we cover some exciting news and price action in regard to some of the stocks I'm talking about on the channel. Today's case, we're focusing specifically on some Chinese EV automakers. The EV sector as a whole did pretty well today, but the Chinese automakers really shined. These stocks are on absolute fire, following some great analyst news from NIO, which we will get into. So let's get straight into it. As always, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be discussing, and then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, as always, TradingView, where we will look at the following charts in this order: NIO, XPEV, and Li. So NIO Inc., Xpeng, and Li Auto. All right. Again, a lot of other plays in the EV sector as a whole. We've talked about them many times in the past that I am excited about, but I just want to make it clear we are only focusing on the Chinese manufacturers today because those are the ones that are really leading the rally in the sector right now. In terms of news, we will just cover the single article. Okay, so this one's going to be definitely more focused on the technical aspects. NIO soars to record after JP Morgan selects it as long-term winner in Chinese EV market. Okay, so again, great news from NIO. You guys know I always say when we talk about analyst upgrades, when we talk about analyst news, always understand that analysts are just people too. Obviously, the market reacted. There are very valid points in this analysis by this JP Morgan analyst that we will get into, of course. But just keep in mind, you guys, all analysts have their biases, as do all investors, as does everyone talking. I have my biases as well. So just keep that in mind. Be careful to not get overly optimistic solely on an analyst upgrade. All right, so that's, again, this will be more new, technical focus. We will cover this piece of news. And yeah, before we get into it, as always, you guys, please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it, or if you're invested in the EV sector at all, specifically these Chinese EV stocks. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, want to catch more content like this. I appreciate it if you do. And of course, check out my complete portfolio, complete breakdown of my entire portfolio, updated every trading day. With every update, I send out an email newsletter explaining my thoughts. Okay, so talk about not only the EV sector. Again, there are a few plays in here that are in the portfolio that I talk about in the portfolio that we're not covering today. So if you guys want to know what those are, check this out, along with literally every other position in my entire portfolio. First link in the description. Appreciate it if you check it out. If not, no worries at all. Let's get into this. So once again, you guys, of course, we will cover the fundamentals, cover that single article, and then we'll just go over all three of these right back to back. Boom. NIO soars to record. Just read this, but I'll read it again. After JP Morgan selects it as long-term winner in Chinese EV market. China's EV market share is set to quadruple by 2025 to 20%. That is a bold statement, but I wouldn't be surprised. You got China, huge market, very, very developing market. So I just want to, you guys, appreciate this NIO car. I don't even know what this is. I will look this up after, but this car looks sick. This is obviously the EP9, of course, NIO EP9. This is obviously their sports car. This thing looks sick, and yeah, good for them. NIO, okay, we'll just read this. Autonomous electric vehicle on display during the 2020 Beijing International Automotive Exhibition on September 28th in Beijing. So this is pretty recent. Again, you guys, it's always cool to see these. It's good to have competition. Again, Tesla will, in my opinion, always be the king of the sector. They will be the most successful for the longest period of time, probably all time. I shouldn't say all time, but for the foreseeable future. But again, it's cool to see competition. It's cool to see them pushing each other, because that's what competition does. It pushes the other people in the sector, the other companies within the sector, to be better. And that always leads for better products. And regardless, that's a sick car, so that's cool. Boom, NIO Inc. shares traded at their highest ever Wednesday after analysts at JP Morgan upgraded them to buy and said that the Shanghai-based electric vehicle maker is set to be the long-term winner in China's luxury electric vehicle market. The JP Morgan analyst, led by Nikola, upgraded NIO's ADRs to their equivalent of a buy with a price target of $40, nearly tripled from $14. The analysts are the most bullish on NIO out of the 15 analysts surveyed by FactSet, and their new price target represents an 85% upside from Tuesday's closing price for NIO. So again, you guys, analysts, especially in this market, they know their words have influence, and obviously that was very evident in the market. So I don't personally put a whole lot of weight on analyst upgrades and whatnot, but it's very evident based on today's price action that people do. So just keep that in mind, you guys. That's what I really want to make important. Be careful with analyst upgrades, because it's very easy, and they know they do have the ability to pump stocks, sometimes in their favor. Who knows? Okay, just keep that in mind though. In China's smart EV market, we expect NIO to be a long-term winner in the premium space among China's brands versus Xpeng, XPEV, which we will cover again. That's actually a company that I really like personally, leading the mass market. Electric vehicle penetration in China is set to quadruple by 2025 to 20% from less than 5% in 2019, the analyst said. A production cost parity with the internal combustion engine vehicles is seen by 2022 or 2023 as battery costs drop further, they said. So obviously, you guys, the auto industry is trending electric. That's very obvious. Even if it's not super tangible right now, you obviously see more petroleum, see more gas-powered vehicles on the road. But look at Tesla. Tesla's by far, and again, Tesla isn't only an EV company. They're a solar company. They're a battery company. They are a tech company. They're an AI company. They're a data company. Tesla's a lot of things. Tesla's a kind of in a bracket of its own. I still think it's overvalued. I will say that right off the bat. But you just see where people's minds are headed. You see where the future is headed. Again, there's so many new retail investors involved in Tesla. It's obvious that's the future. It's very evident that that's the future, even if it may be arguably overvalued today as a stock, as a company in terms of market cap. I think it's very evident. I shouldn't say evident, but it's very obvious to me just based on trends. Just almost psychological trends that Tesla is the future. Electric vehicles are the future. You see states like California going to ban gasoline powered vehicles by whatever 2030 or whatever the year was. So again, just all that to say, just everything is trending in the direction of EVs dominating the vehicle market. For Tesla, that scenario is a rising tide lifts all boats rather than a winner take all. A pattern similar to the one in the smartphone market where Chinese brands were able to seize a market opportunity through product offering or pricing. They said NIO is expected to dominate about 30% of the premium passenger EV market, JP Morgan said. So I assume this has to be in China. This has to be in China, right? But again, China's a huge market, you guys. China's the largest country in terms of population in the world. So very rising economy. They're a very wealthy economy as well. So keep that in mind. There's more people with more money to spend more on luxury cars, which NIO is really, that's the exact hole that they are filling. Okay, so that's that. Again, very bullish for not only NIO, but for players like Xpeng and Lead. Let's get straight into the charts. Keep it pretty simple, you guys. We will, on the 4-hour candles. For those of you who may be new here, I do prefer 4-hour candles, primarily for medium to long term. I should say medium term. Shorts, yeah, not short term, not necessarily long term, but medium term. That's how I prefer to trade personally. But if you guys want to day trade this, do whatever. Yeah, that's up to you. I just choose to use this. And we're going to be using very basic trend lines over the course of this market, specifically this market environment over the past 6 months since we saw those March lows. I've noticed that over moving averages, over exponential moving averages, simple moving averages, really any technical metric, that's technical indicator, whatever you want to call them, that you may be using, the basic trend lines have proven from every chart I've looked at over the course of time, many of you who have stuck around would know this, they have proven to be significantly more effective than moving average. Although moving averages are still effective, a lot of traders do still look at it. So whatever traders are looking at, you know that it's going to have some sort of impact. But in terms of macro, again, medium term, which is how I personally trade, I do swing trade. For those of you guys who don't know, I don't day trade. Again, you guys, just trend lines. It's the easiest thing to follow. It's very easy to look at. You guys can draw these for yourselves, and I do recommend you guys do that. Don't only do your own research, but go on TradingView, make your own charts, draw your own lines, do your own analysis as well. Again, this is just my opinion. So we do see here very obviously that NIO is on this uptrend. So it started, NIO really popped off at the end of June, okay? So from June 30th, I should say July 1st, over the span of 2 weeks, NIO went from $7.50 to $16. So it over 2x in the span of 2 weeks, which is huge. And that was the initial catalyst. This is when Tesla was popping off. This is when the EV sector as a whole, considering there is still so much hype around it, that was when things really started popping off, specifically for NIO. And again, you can see here pretty organic growth, very steep growth, but still organic. You can see here it's following this nice ascending channel pretty well. You can even expand this further down, and it's pretty much following this basic trend line. Okay, so because NIO did just test today, you can see it closed almost precisely on this line, on this upper line of resistance, on this ascending channel. It closed almost exactly on that. It did close a 4-hour candle on that. In the 4-hour candle prior to closing the markets today, it did just briefly break above that. I don't see that as significant enough for a break out of this channel. If it does close, I'll say a daily significantly above this channel. So if we can close a daily at like $27, $28, then it's pretty much blue skies for NIO, because keep in mind, this is all-time highs for NIO. It's great. You guys, I've traded NIO since it IPO'd. I've been watching, it's been on my watch list. I've traded it many times. Again, I've talked about it many times on this channel. So it's crazy to see NIO doing this right now. What is NIO's market cap at? NIO is currently at a $23 billion market cap. That's insane. But again, you guys, there is such future potential potential in the Chinese EV automaker market, and just EV cars in China in general. Okay, so again, everything's trending that way. Although this is very hype driven, this is not the growth I like to see unless you're holding like calls or even a stock position on NIO yesterday. Right now, personally, again, this is just my opinion. Remember that, you guys. Right now is not the time I'd be buying NIO, again, especially considering it is resting exactly on this line of resistance on this ascending channel. I think it's very likely to, I don't know if we'd eliminate all these gains, but I think it might go sideways again unless we do break out of this channel. Then it's just straight blue skies, and the sky's pretty much the limit. We could see, again, you guys, I've played so many bubbles in the past, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see NIO bubble up even further than it has over the past few months, just because there's so much hype. And again, money printing equals stronger equities, so as long as the money's being printed, equities are just going to keep getting stronger. And again, very promising sector in the Chinese EV automaker space. But downside, I do think downside says I don't think just based on technicals this would happen. It would take a negative news catalyst or something, or like a withdrawn statement from JP Morgan, or an opposing analyst like coming out again, which is negative news in regard to NIO, to bring it to the bottom side of this trend, of this ascending channel, I should say. And again, if we do test the downside, it'd bring us back down to $20. That wouldn't really surprise me, just because it's proven to do so. Like, it comes up, you see the high bubble right here, pops a little bit, comes back up, and you see a double top pattern right here, and it ultimately comes back down to test this channel. So it wouldn't surprise me, just solely from a technical perspective, to see it. Again, you guys, keep in mind, might bounce around this area for the coming days, for the coming weeks, who knows. But I think at some point, it's likely, when is obviously the question, it will test this lower channel. But I will just close that out by saying I'm not a buyer of NIO at these levels personally. If it comes down to test the lower side of this channel, I definitely will be. I think that's a great, poses some great trade potential. So XPEV is a play that I really like in the sector. I've talked about it a few times in this channel. They have, when was it, like a month or so ago, I covered this and talking about their partnership directly with the Chinese government. They got some funding. They got a round of funding from the Chinese government, from the CCP. So good for them. That's obviously good. You want to be working with your government. Pretty much every company in China works with the CCP or is somewhat owned by the CCP, because it is a communist country. But that said, you get direct access to resources. And I know Xpeng is in very good standing with, specifically over these other companies, to my knowledge at least, with the CCP, with the Chinese government. And it's not anywhere near its all-time highs. It's actually significantly below its IPO price at about $25. It's currently sitting at $22 with a high of $22.50 today. Okay, so I see a lot of potential upside in Xpeng Auto. Okay, and Xpeng, this is a crazy share, because it's like, this happens sometimes with international markets. You'll see crazy names like this, but it's just Xpeng Inc. Okay, XPEV Auto, and I think that's similar to so NIO, Xpeng, and Li all look pretty similar in terms of they're all just in an ascending channel. If NIO falls, Xpeng will fall. You can see they're all obviously kind of working in tandem. XPEV in second place as to NIO, not up as significantly as much as NIO, and again, you guys, I think it's gonna be in this channel. I do personally see more upside potential for XPEV, because now everyone, like, NIO just popped off. Everyone's all eyes are on Chinese automakers, Chinese EV automakers, I should say. And then they're going to be like, oh, what are other players in the sector? NIO's looking expensive. What else can I buy that doesn't look expensive? So just from a psychological perspective, because this is completely a psychological game, you guys, for the most part, remember that. Xpeng looks attractive. Again, it's significantly below its IPO price. You see kind of a head and shoulders pattern playing out right here, very janky. And even on 4 hours, Xpeng has very low volume. So that shows that there's not much. So that shows that there's not many eyes on it yet, which is actually good, because there's not much volume, and people, that leads to a lot more potential discovery. Everyone knows about NIO already. Not many people know about Xpeng and Li. So that is just, again, you guys, just playing the mind games, playing game theory here. That leads me to believe that there's a lot more upside potential in Xpeng and Li. Okay, but again, you can see janky head and shoulders kind of playing out right here, right, because it's inverse, right shoulder, head, left shoulder, and it would lead me to believe that we could easily come to retest at least the IPO price for Xpeng, which would bring it to about $25. And again, that's a solid trade right there, you guys. Okay, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to reach $25 over the coming weeks in Xpeng, considering the rest of the sectors as well, and nothing catastrophic happens, of course. So let's talk about Lee, and then we will close it out. So Lee is looking pretty solid as well. Lee is looking a lot more. Lee is a very, very volatile stock. Okay, so you can see here, very this is definitely a tradable stock. If you guys are day traders, I would highly recommend looking into Lee. I'm not telling you to do anything, but definitely look into it, because this is a highly volatile stock, very day trader friendly in my eyes right now. Okay, so bring that down a little bit. So what I'm seeing here is, obviously there's this lowering line. I guess we can draw another line right here, kind of. So this is another trend line right. So you can see these trend lines make that signature color, that color right there. So again, basic ascending channel. On the downside risk is it comes down and tests this area, which isn't that much downside. This is what makes me believe that Lee is a pretty safe play in this sector, just because it's not super. This actually looks really volatile, which it kind of is. I mean, this high is at $25. You're looking at, I mean, from $20, it's 25% difference, $5. So it looks very volatile. It's very swingy, but it's not super volatile. It hasn't really broken out yet. So that's what leads me to believe that there is a lot of asymmetric risk. You guys know I love asymmetric risks, asymmetric investments on this channel, which means the upside potential significantly outweighs the downside risk. And it looks to me like if the downside, it's currently at $20, the absolute downside potential in my mind, I can't see it breaking below this trend line just because it's so solid, is like $19. So you're looking at like a 10% downside, but the upside is this. Okay, so I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is highly optimistic, is that we come up and once again retest this channel. So July 30th is when, at least on TradingView, it IPO'd around this time. Both Xpeng and Lee are pretty new to the public markets. It saw this extreme channel, and this is a pretty conservative channel because we're not using absolute tops on these candles. So if it does once again retest this line of resistance on this extreme uptrend over the medium term, I wouldn't be surprised. So just see if this plays out. November 10th, we could see like a $40 Lee if it's obviously on November 10th comes up to choose to retest this line of resistance, and that wouldn't surprise me. Again, you guys, just because. Okay, what's Lee's market cap right now? I believe Lee is at a $12.7 billion market cap, pretty big. Xpeng, I didn't show you guys this, but Xpeng is at about an $8.5 billion market cap. So just because, I mean, they're pretty much the same price, but just because the prices are the same, that's what I'll say. Just because the prices are the same doesn't mean that, obviously, everyone knows this, but I just want to say this just because there are still people who think that, and it's okay to be a newer trader. But just because Xpeng is $22 and Lee is $20 per share doesn't mean that Xpeng is more expensive. Its market cap is still significantly smaller than Lee. So Lee is almost $13 billion. Xpeng is $8 billion. Okay, so it's significantly smaller in terms of market cap and value of the company, which is the main reason that I personally like Xpeng the most of these three. But I think all three of them really have potential right now. So I will say that on the high side, a very optimistic price target for Li Auto could be around the $40 region. Again, that's highly optimistic, but I think we could at least come up and retest this high that it saw back in late August at about $25, where it peaked pretty soon after its IPO, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, and it would nicely coincide. If it hit that October 23rd, if this current uptrend coincided with that previous high, it would bring us to like a $25 Lee on October 23rd. So again, you guys, this is just what I'm seeing. I'm not saying always do your own research. This is not trading or investment advice. I'm not telling you what to do, but this is my opinion, and this is a very exciting sector right now. You guys, please let me know what stocks you want me to cover next. Again, Workhorse, Helion, Nikola, Tesla. These are all very exciting plays. Again, focusing on the Chinese companies today. These really are on fire right now. I think these have a very bright future. And again, you guys, although I did say be cautious about these analyst upgrades and about these analyst remarks, because it could be potentially pumping the stock, they're all very valid points, and I agree with pretty much every point made in here. Just valuation is always the question. It's whether this analysis alone, because obviously the analysis didn't at all change the current fundamentals of NIO stock. It's still going to take years to get there. This is like pricing it in at 2025. So he could say like NIO, although you see a $40 price target, that's at 2025 when they have that market share, and it's already almost getting there. So keep in mind, you guys, the markets are just so erratic right now, so emotionally driven and so hype, that I would personally wait to especially on NIO specifically, I should say, Maybe just think about waiting till some of the dust settles and then establishing a position once the more rational hands come in. Like once the more, and institutions are going to love these stocks. That's a great thing too. They still have small market caps, or even NIO with a $20 billion market cap, still in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. So there's still a lot of potential there, especially considering Tesla's like a freaking $350 billion company. Keep in mind, you guys, there's a lot of growth potential here, especially when you compare these to Tesla. They're not really comparable. Again, you guys, Tesla's is really a multi-pronged company as opposed to just a sole auto company, but there's still a lot of potential here. Again, China's a huge market, and again, you guys, wrapping back, just let me know what stocks you want me to cover next, because I want to make videos that you guys want to see, of course. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you did gain value from this. Again, please give it a like if you did, and subscribe to the channel if you're still watching. And if you're still watching, I freaking appreciate you. You've been listening to all the ranting and rambling. But love making these videos for you guys. Let me know what you guys want to see next. Let me know what you're excited about across the entire market space right now. As you guys know, I'm interested in many markets. I am a macro investor. I consider myself a macro investor. So I don't discriminate against any sector. Let me know what you guys are excited about, and I'll think about making a video about it. So I'll catch you guys downstairs. Once again, if you want to get my real-time updates on the markets, again, I do send these newsletters out along with updating the portfolio every day. I do send out a newsletter during market hours, so it's my real-time thoughts of the market, my real-time actions, and again, I don't just cover the trades. I cover everything that's going on within equity markets, gold, silver, Bitcoin, the macro environment, because you guys know I think the macro environment, understanding what's going on in the macroeconomic landscape, is crucial if you're going to trade, especially swing trade like I do. So I appreciate it if you check it out. Once again, if not, no worries. Until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.